Welcome to Basic Brewing Radio for Thursday, February 9th, 2012. I'm James Spencer. Here at Basic Brewing Radio, we're all about home brewing. This week, it's a trifecta. We revisit the fermenter experiment Belgian triangle test, sample the zombie apocalypse beer, and talk about brewing on a frozen lake in Wisconsin. If you're new to home brewing and would like to get into the hobby for the first time, check out our website, basicbrewing.com, where you can find archives of our audio and video podcasts and our DVDs to walk you through basic and more advanced brewing techniques. And our new 2012 Brewers Logbooks are still in the house and going out the door. You can log 50 batches of beer and track them on a handy calendar in the front. You can follow me on Twitter. My username is Basic Brewing, all one word. Also, you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/basicbrewing.james, and our show page on Facebook is at facebook.com/basicbrewing. Thanks again to everybody clicking on the Amazon.com associate link on our basicbrewing.com site. Whenever you think of Amazon, think of us and click on our associate link first. It won't cost you any extra, and you'll be helping us to bring you this show, and we appreciate your support greatly. And there is an amazon.co.uk link on there, too. We also have associate links for Brew Your Own magazine and the American Homebrewers Association on our site, too. You can find our iPhone and Android podcast apps on their respective stores. You can find the Android app on amazon.com as well. And we're on the BlackBerry podcast directory, and we're on the Stitcher app as well. We are everywhere. There's no excuse for you not to find this show. Just a reminder, the form for the Brew Your Own magazine Basic Brewing Radio collaborative experiment on the effect of trub in beer is actually online. You can find it at basicbrewing.com/experiment. That's basicbrewing.com/experiment. Remember, there is a second component to the experiment. The first is to investigate whether adding trub from the kettle into the fermenter affects your beer in any way. But the second is to do a wort stability test. In other words, put some of your wort into a sanitized or sterilized container and see how long it takes for your wort to start fermenting on its own without your pitching any yeast in there. So that's an easy one. You probably don't have time, if you haven't started already, before the February 20th deadline to do the trub part. But you definitely have time to do the stability test and let us know what you come up with. The URL, once again, is basicbrewing.com/experiment. I got a question following last week's show with Patrick Bresnahan on his bourbon beer experiment. Terry writes in with this: I just finished listening to your bourbon stout experiment and have a question. Which I could have left that out probably because it just restates what... Anyway, my question is what... My question is, do we know how old the bourbon stout was that you were sampling? I know the whiskey/oak flavor will mellow with age. I've included Wild Turkey 101 whiskey, 6 ounces for 4 gallons, and medium roasted oak chips, 1.3 ounces, in the last 2 beers I brewed. I soak the oak chips in the whiskey 2 to 3 weeks prior to adding to the secondary. I let my beers age 6 months in the bottle before drinking. Terry says, I think a bourbon/oak chip collaboration with Brew Your Own magazine would be beneficial as the information regarding whiskey beers varies widely. That would be a fun experiment. Fun to taste, at least. Lots of variables in there, but we could narrow that down if we decide to do that for a collaborative experiment. As for how long Patrick aged the beers he sent us, Patrick says, I checked my notes last night, and that stout was bottled on November 21st. So at your tasting, it was approximately 10 weeks in the bottle. Earlier tastings proved extra wooden, as you might imagine, Patrick says. 6 months would be interesting, but as the ABV was not terribly high, I don't think I'd wait quite that long. Planning and foresight would probably have me brew this in August at imperial levels to have it ready to give away for the holidays. That's a great idea. How to win friends and influence people who enjoy being under the influence, I guess. You may remember a couple of weeks ago I mentioned that homebrewers are working in Wisconsin to change the law regulating homebrew. As it stands now, it is illegal for homebrewers to take beer out of their homes. Of course, this makes it impossible to share homebrew at club meetings, enter contests, or even take a six-pack of beer over to your friend's house to watch a football game. Well, I have an update from Kyle Clark up in Oshkosh, Wisconsin that I received this morning. And as you may know, I record this show on Wednesdays, even though I say it's for Thursday. Just a little peek into my obsessive personality. Anyway, Kyle says, I will be traveling to Madison today to attend a committee meeting in the State Assembly to discuss a companion bill to SB 395. The Assembly has introduced AB 521 to speed up the process of passing our homebrew legislation. Yesterday, Tuesday, February the 7th, the Senate Committee on Energy, Biotechnology, and Consumer Protection recommended the bill for passage unanimously. If the bill passes the Senate floor vote, then the bill will be referred to the Assembly, where SB 395 will be compared and combined with AB 521. Kind of unfortunate that the AB part is in there. But anyway, then will be one floor vote in the Assembly away from the governor's signature. The homebrewers in Wisconsin have been very active in contacting their legislators. It has been reassuring to hear from legislators that so many citizens have contacted them on this issue. If all goes well, the bill could be on the governor's desk as soon as this time next week. With the lobbying group in the state withdrawing its objection to the bill, we have very little reason to believe the bill will be delayed. Hopefully, when I contact you next, it will be sharing a homebrew in celebration of the bill's signing into law. That's excellent, excellent news. So great job, everybody, contacting your state legislators up there in Wisconsin. Keep it up, because we just need to get it passed. Also, thanks to Kyle Clark up there for the update, and I look forward to hearing more great news from Wisconsin. Well, speaking of Wisconsin, a few days ago, Robert or Bob Stemsky posted a fun video on our Facebook page, facebook.com/basicbrewing. The video showed homebrewers taking part in an annual tradition of brewing on a frozen lake. Well, since that event is coming up again this coming weekend, I thought I'd get Bob on the line to talk about it. Well, Robert Stemsky, welcome to Basic Brewing Radio.
Thanks.
You are up there in the slightly more frigid climes up there in Wisconsin. What have you got going on this weekend?
We have our annual Polar Brew, in which we go out on Sunset Lake and use the lake water to brew beer.
And where is Sunset Lake?
It's, let's say, Stevens Point, Wisconsin is where we kind of based out of. That's our club. And just a dozen miles or so outside of town.
Now, the reason I found out about this is you posted a video on our Facebook page of last year's event, and I got to admit that it looks, I'm an Arkansas boy. I'm not much for very cold weather, but that looked like a lot of fun.
It was. It was a blast. For me, actually, it was my first brewing on the lake. I've been kind of afraid to go year after year because I always vision my truck or car going through the ice and having to be pulled out. And it's a common occurrence in Wisconsin in winter, whether it's a snowmobile, car, or whatever. We do have problems with it. And, it sounds kind of crazy. But once I got there, I really regretted not going year after year.
I assume that there are some safety precautions taking place there to make sure that kind of stuff doesn't happen.
Yes. In fact, later this week, we're going to go out and drill some holes and check the depth of the ice and so on, because we've had a very warm winter and we don't want any accidents. We try to be as safe as possible. Safety first in all cases. Yeah, especially,
you guys are sampling homebrew out there on the ice and eating food and having a good time. And, when you have a good time, you tend to, forget about things. So,
Oh, yeah. We got to get it done first, because once you start brewing, and the inevitable, hey, try this, once it starts, for me, as I brew a lot of these things, and when I get out there, people start talking, well, then I forget to add the hops, or I don't add the Irish moss, and generally the beers I do out in the lake or out in the field aren't as good as the ones at home.
Well, those can be forgivable, but forgetting to check about the safety of the ice is not not on that same level.
No, no. I usually stay up on the shore and watch the truck plow the snow off the ice, and if he doesn't fall in, I think I'm pretty good.
Now, what are the benefits of brewing beer on a frozen lake?
None whatsoever. Actually, it's just this psychological idea of that you're sitting on a lake that for the last 10,000 years we've had ducks and geese pooping in it and various animals falling through the ice and decomposing, and you're going to drink that.
So you actually pull the water for the brew from the lake?
Yeah, we drill a hole, and then we usually get a generator, and we pump the water that's just up under the ice. Because actually, when you think about it, once the ice forms and there's no movement of the water, and then the water does settle down so that by spring, it's fairly pure up on top. And if you pull it from there, you know, you're going to boil it for 90 minutes or so. So there's no problem.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as the lake is, as long as there's not a chemical plant on the lake that's putting dioxins or something into the water, you should be fine.
Oh, there's nothing like that near the lakes over here. We're pockmarked with lakes. Occasionally, in the old days, the mafia would drop bodies in the lakes. We'd have a few of those pop up, but they haven't been active as much as they were in the past.
Now, I would assume that having access to all that near freezing water would also be beneficial in the chilling phase of the brewing process as well.
Yes, it does sound kind of oxymoron-y kind of thing when you're pulling ice water out of the lake, running it through an immersion chiller when it's maybe 15 below zero to try to cool your beer. It doesn't sound right, but it works well. It's free. You're just running a generator. That's the only thing you got to do.
Yeah, an ambient air temperature, it would take quite a bit. Even at those cold temperatures, it would take a while to cool down your wort.
Yeah, a lot of people think, oh, you got snow, you can just stick your pot in the snow. But actually, snow is an insulator, and you're going to get about an inch of melt around the pot, but then it actually holds the temperature. I've had beers outside for 7-8 hours, and they were still hot. It's not something you'd expect if you're from the South, especially.
Yeah, we hardly get enough snow to do that, so that that's a luxury. But I noticed in one part of the video that you put on our Facebook page that at one point the guys that were standing near the hole in the ice were standing in a few inches of water there on top, and at some point you shot a picture of cracks leading from the hole. Now,
yeah, well, the problem is we run that continuously, and we should be feeding the water back into the hole, but we don't want to mix it up. So generally, the water's squirting out all over, and eventually it kind of hollows out and thins the ice there. But actually, in years past, some of the guys have been standing out there, and then they hear this crack of a rifle kind of thing, and then they look down on the ground, and right between their legs, a crack develops and spreads about an inch or so, and then you're kind of like in a movies. You don't know to jump right or left. Are you going to be on a floating piece of ice, or are you going to be on the shore side? But, after a few beers, you don't care what side you're on as long as you still have your beer and you don't spill it.
And, you've got other people there to throw you a line, or you could hold on to one of the hoses going into the hole there.
Yeah, the guys throw you a line. They say, how you doing out there? We're having your beer.
Just throw me another one.
Yeah. There is some different things with brewing on the ice when I think about it. Like one thing, you have to keep your propane from freezing. If it's like minus 15 Fahrenheit, minus 26 C, the propane kind of stiffens up, and sometimes you have to warm it, which is kind of odd when you got to hold a propane torch to a a bomb to try to warm it up so you can start the fire. And also, you think about it, you have styrofoam cups to drink beer, and it's not to keep it cold, it's to keep it warm, because if you stand around with a tin cup or something like that, your beer is going to freeze on you.
Yeah.
So there are, strange things that happen out in the lake.
So do you have corny kegs freezing and stuff like that?
Yeah. Last few years it's been warm, fairly warm, so it's all right, but we've had some disasters, yeah.
Now, have you do you have to put some sort of a insulation layer under the propane burner so you're not melting a hole in the ice right there?
It's best to put a piece of wood or so, let's say a 2x2 piece of wood, just to balance it properly. Because, my last year, I didn't know that. I put my four-legged burner on there, and because I have it up high, because I'm a brew in the bagger, I like to no chill. And, I had trouble balancing that. And when you got 5 gallons of wort, you don't want it falling over.
Yeah. And you would think that the heat from the burner would start to melt the ice below, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She does.
Well, it looks like a lot of fun, and I hope that it's been cold enough to give you a nice layer of ice that you can be out there safely. And if people want to know more about it and how to find it and all that, is there a website or a web page for information?
We have the club website, which could be wdb.org for Central Wisconsin Draft Board. We've been a club for 20 years here in Central Wisconsin, and they are sponsoring the event.
Well, excellent. Well, I hope that you guys have a lot of fun and be safe.
Oh, we will. Just what you need. A bunch of brewers sitting on the lake drinking beer. We'll be safe.
Thanks, Robert.
Have a great day.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun, and I hope everybody up there has a safe and enjoyable time. And maybe Bob will post a video of this year's activities on our Facebook page again. Now, what you're going to hear next is 2 things. First, you may remember our BYO-BBR collaborative experiment on fermenter shapes. I brewed a Belgian-style beer and fermented half of the wort in a glass carboy and half in a plastic bucket. And Steve Wilkes and I did a triangle test, and we were able to tell the difference between those 2 halves. So what was going on there? So to find out, I repeated that experiment to see if that was a true result, whether the fermenter shape actually did make a difference, or if it was just a fluke. So next you'll hear a triangle test to test that out, of the retesting, of the repeat of that experiment. Also, near the end of last year, you may remember we put brewers Casey Lohman and Jen Royer to the test to see if they could brew a beer in a non-brewer's house using just the equipment that they could find in the house. We call that our zombie apocalypse brew day, or our home invasion brew day. So in the second half of the segment you'll hear coming up, you'll hear us open and taste that beer to see how we did. Welcome back, everybody, to the Kyle and Laura Kellum's kitchen. And in here we have
Laura,
Kyle,
Jen, Casey.
And we're this is part of my awkward interview style. It's not a flaw; it's a feature. Okay, now what you've got here is in front of you is what's called a triangle test. You've got 3 samples of beer in front of you, and they're each labeled with a random number that I've come up with, and the levels are supposed to be equal. They're in plastic cups. So what you're supposed to do essentially is to pick the odd beer, and it's a sensory panel. So Laura's now smelling them all, which is a good thing. You can swirl them around, you can smell them, you can taste them, you can look at them, do whatever you can to try to pick out the odd one.
What do you mean by odd?
The different one. One of these things is not like the other. Two of them are the same. One is odd or different. And so what you're doing now is sampling and tasting and trying to figure out which one is which. And you got crackers. You can take a cracker between the samples if you want to. This is, I'll tell everybody while y'all are tasting, that this is the plastic bucket versus glass carboy fermenter experiment. And in that first round of the experiment, you may remember that Steve and I perceived a difference between the glass fermenter and the plastic fermenter in the Belgian batch that I brewed. We didn't in the English ale that I brewed, but we did in the Belgian. So I said that I would redo it to see if we could see a prominent difference. We have a question.
Oh, no, I just think I know.
Oh. Don't say. Don't influence. Kyle's already, he was trying to make assumptions based on the numbers that I wish there was a way that I could mark the glasses without, maybe shapes, but then you'd read...
Blacklight. You could use blacklight.
Yeah. You could search for DNA on one of the cups. Is it CSI? So are they palatable? I haven't tasted these.
It's good. It's good.
Are they palatable?
They all taste very good.
Mm-hmm. Delicious beer.
Thank you. I wasn't fishing for a compliment. I was just...
This is the best triangle tasting beer I've ever had.
And I could be tricking you. They could all be the same. I don't know. This could be a reversed experiment.
You would, wouldn't you?
I might, but I didn't. So, Kyle, you have a quizzical look on your face. Is that just because you're tasting?
No. I'm wondering if, because I've been known to buy Schlitz in bottles and PBR in cans, if you can really trust my judgment.
Well, we have a range of tasters here. We have you, who you admitted earlier that you haven't met a beer that you haven't liked.
Actually, Busch Light I do not like, and Red, White, and Blue I do not like.
The fact that you've had those beers says something about you. And then where would you put yourself, Laura, on this spectrum?
Not a beer connoisseur, but I can taste things better than he can, usually.
And then on the other range of the spectrum, we have experienced homebrewers.
Right, well, I feel like I have a decent palate, but sometimes I don't get the subtle differences, but I think I actually might have an opinion
I know
today.
which one I think tastes different.
Have you all formed your opinions?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take another sip. I'm going to take another 3 sips here.
Can we trust you to maintain your original numbers and not be swayed by the others? Or?
I have my hand on the one that I think is different.
I'm going to close my eye. I'm going to pick mine, and I'll just hold them up silently.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Saying our number out loud.
Yeah, that'll be great radio.
Then we can, after we hold them up, then we'll say our number.
We'll say the number out.
Okay.
Yeah. Ready?
Okay.
So should we all grab ours and hold
wait,
it up?
Casey is still,
No,
still
I'm good.
thinking.
I think.
I know. I've gone back and forth in the last couple of minutes. I decided immediately, and now I'm questioning.
I'm second guessing myself now, as I do. Just go with your gut.
Well, but
No, go to taste buds.
on the ones that, well, maybe I'll ask afterwards. Okay.
It's sensory.
So,
It just depends how deep the
touch
sensory
them?
goes.
All right.
yeah, we have to wait until the effects on the gut later on. Okay. Are you ready?
Uh-huh.
Are you going to put your hands on your cup?
Yes.
Okay, and 1, 2, 3, lift.
45.
We have 3 45s and 1 37.
Wow.
Well, I have to say that Jen wins the prize.
Wow.
It was 37.
Awesome!
That wasn't going to be my second guess.
So did you perceive big differences between the two, or was it just kind of...
Well, it wasn't big. The first thing I noticed was the smell. It smelled more banana-y, like more fruity. And I definitely could taste that after I tasted them.
So the two in the majority, the one that wasn't 37, those were the glass fermenters, or glass fermenter, and then the other one was the plastic. So the one that you said had more of kind of a Belgian character was in the plastic fermenter, whereas in the first round, when Steve and I perceived the difference, we said the glass had more.
Interesting.
So,
If I were at a restaurant and I was served any of these, though, I would like them. I don't think that it was like a case of one was bad and the others were good.
Just different.
yeah, it's the same beer, just the same wort, just split in half and put in 2 different fermenters.
So the point is, they're all good.
Yeah, well,
That is not the point at all.
Big sigh.
They all taste good.
well, that's
Not
good.
any of them.
Well, that's good. Well, I guess the point. I guess what we've proven is that statistically there wasn't a difference between the two.
Except that you can't count Kyle.
It wasn't Busch Light. I know that.
So I feel good about this because so something weird, wacky. I don't know whether I got just a little infection or something in one of the 2 in the first round. Oh, maybe I shouldn't.
Infection is not dangerous.
Sounds disgusting.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have said
you can't
infection.
ever get rid of it once you have it.
Isn't there a salve for that?
Or a poultice, or an ointment. Well, there you go. What do you think, Casey?
Oh, I'm surprised. The majority thought that 45 tasted a little bit different, and then Jen totally nailed it. It's cool.
So does this change your opinion about plastic buckets versus glass carboys?
Oh, not really.
You didn't ask her what her opinion was.
Oh yeah, well there you go. What do you have a preference?
Well, we ferment in glass most of the time, but we also have a fermenter that's plastic that we use as secondary when we're full, and we've had good beers from both. So as long as you don't scratch it and have some bugs hiding in there.
That's basically what I said.
No,
but you
it's
didn't.
not.
It's not what I said.
You're outnumbered, Kyle.
You're all good.
She's my wife. She's not going to say.
I know, but
Kyle is saying that all of the experiment was a success because they're all good. Is that right?
right. They're all exceptionally good. They're not just passable. They're all very good.
Yeah. That's
Wow. You
I
want
just
to?
feel sorry for Casey that she's gotten stuck with Kyle and me, especially Kyle with her opinion. Sorry.
It was my own fault.
Did you second guess yourself? Was 37 actually your second guess?
45 was my first guess. I went with it.
But whenever you second guessed, was it going to be for 37?
Yeah, actually. But I didn't have much to base that on.
Yeah.
45 seemed like the one to me.
So now we get to taste. We can pause and then we can taste what we're over here for, besides drinking beer and eating pizza and having fun with friends.
There's other things in that. There's other things.
Well, it's in it falls under one of those subsets because we have the zombie apocalypse beer.
Yay.
So let's pause and set that up, and we'll come back.
Grains.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Okay, so here we are. We've got the zombie apocalypse beer, and what do you remember about this beer? Do you remember?
Nothing at all. I know it was definitely Belgian, and you had a lot of chocolate or black patent, and that we put orange peel, coriander, and black pepper in the end.
And then there was that sugar stuff, the cane syrup stuff.
Sugar, yeah, which would be great. I'm excited to try it.
And we bottled. Unfortunately, we couldn't coordinate schedules, so it had been 4 weeks in the bucket. So we wanted to get it in the bottles, and so you guys, did you peek in on the beer every now and then in the spare bedroom?
You called once and asked me to peek, which sounds weird now that I say that out loud. But we looked. I think it was just like the Monday after, 1 or 2 days after, and then I think we looked again a week later.
And I sent you a picture and said, "Merry Christmas from your beer" on a text.
And at some point I asked Kyle, "So have you looked at the beer lately?" And he was like, "No." And I said, "Well, you're not really a home brewer then, are you? Because we'd be looking at things like every day, twice a day."
Yeah, exactly.
But you probably shouldn't, right? You should just let it
Yeah, since it was just under foil, and you had to kind of lift up the foil to look at it, it's probably a good thing.
From the side, and I noticed that I've never made beer ever in my whole life, but I noticed that it was like black at the bottom and kind of tan at the top. So it was like a
black and tan.
Smushy tan at the top, black and tan.
It did smell good.
Mm-hmm. It
smelled very
smelled
good.
like beer.
Now, what did you think of the residue in the fermenters after it was
I
out?
didn't pay much attention. I just soaked them and put them in the dishwasher.
I remember you making some ew noises.
Oh, yeah, I kind of remember that now. Sorry.
So, what we have here is 2 bottles, one from the pitcher and one from the bucket. And 4 weeks after the
glass.
Well, both were in the glass, but one was a drinking pitcher, and the other was that candy barrel shaped pitch thing.
The jar.
Yeah, the jar.
The big jar.
So what happened was 4 weeks after y'all brewed the beer, we came over and bottled it. And I forgot to put the priming sugar in, so I took it home. and the next day, put the priming sugar in and recapped it. And here we are, where we figure out almost 3 weeks later. Yep. And so you said that you had some ideas that we went ahead and used traditional methods to bottle the beer, but you had some ideas on how you would have bottled it had we stuck with the original rules of the zombie apocalypse.
I probably would have looked for any kind of PET bottle, like some sort of soda bottle or something with a good lid, and washed it real good. But I guess you can't be too picky when you're bottling beer at the zombie apocalypse. So that could have worked well. We've used PET bottles clean, not with soda in it before, for traveling and camping and things like that, and they've worked out great. So that was our idea for that.
Yeah, that would have worked. Yeah. So what we have here? Jen, do you want to do the honors? And we've already cracked one, but we'll record the.
Let me.
Here we go. Oh, and by the way, it's an 8.6% ABV beer.
That's right. Wow. Zombie apocalypse beer.
Here we go.
I'll try this.
Oh, we have carbonation. I did 4. Oh, Kyle has a question.
How do you know it's an 8.6 beer?
Because we took a gravity reading with a refractometer at the beginning. You can be more. I think to get any kind of head on that, you're going to have to be a little bit more. There you go. Slow down. We've only got 2 chilled. Poor Jen. She was like, I don't want to pour. There's too much pressure. And here I am putting more pressure on it. Yeah, I'm awful.
Control freak.
Surely, not me. But what you do is you take a gravity reading before fermentation, and then you take a gravity reading after fermentation, and then you compare those, and you can find out.
So cool.
You can find out how much alcohol's in it. You can even find out how many calories is in the beer. No. Which we probably don't want to know.
No. Not an 8.6 beer.
No, this is... so imagine... Go ahead and grab one, Casey. We can do the homeowners here.
Smells good. Really good.
Does it smell good?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. It smells really good.
Smells like apples.
Smells like
this
37.
No, this is dangerous because if they start, throwing out descriptors like, "Oh, I smell butterscotch," then
There's nothing like that in it. Is that weird that it smells like apples and there's no apples?
I see what you're talking about.
Yeah.
My silent partner over there.
It's pretty. It's a pretty color.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I like it. I like it a lot.
Oh my.
That's really good. I think it's excellent.
Yeah.
Yum. We can never recreate it because too many weird things happened that day.
Cheers.
Clinking
wow, this is good.
Wait, here are the Foley people. There we go. Well, it's there is a little bit of apple on the nose. But it's a lot lighter tasting than I thought it would be.
It's one of those deceptive 8.6s, man. Like it's very light because of the sugar probably that you had. The syrup, lightened it up. Mm-hmm. And
It's malty, but it also has like kind of, you can really taste that dark grain in there at the finish. It's definitely got a little bit of like a, dark grain acidity to it. It's nice.
There's some like raisins and sort of dark fruits, and there's also a little bit of anise, kind of licorice kind of flavors in there too. Kyle's just laughing at me.
No.
You get any of that, Laura?
See what it's like when it warms up too.
I think the Kellum's house flavor's nice.
That closet. That's the the closet smells good.
Guest room. That's what we should call this beer, guest room.
Well, I was worried the whole time I've been thinking about it. I was like, I put too much black pepper at the end, to try to be the grains of paradise kind of thing. And I even kind of woke up one night and said, oh, I put too much black pepper in that. And like, no, I don't see that happening. So I'm pretty happy about that.
Pepper.
I
would never
huge
say
relief.
I taste black pepper.
Yeah.
No.
So do we taste any orange in there?
Excuse me, not really.
No, but I wonder if it's contributing to that apple kind of fruity aroma. I don't taste it personally, but.
Do you want to say anything?
I like it. It's really good.
Wow. It's got my wife to talking, so there you go. So we have 10 more of these beers, which I'll just give you all. I'll split them between you two couples there. And Kyle, this is not the drink 3 of these while you're watching football beers.
No, I know that.
We're gonna save at least a couple. We're gonna save a couple for my sister and brother-in-law who live in New Orleans, and they're the ones who give us that Steen's cane syrup from Louisiana.
Perfect.
So I think they would be interested that someone made beer with their Steen's that they gave us.
How cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
And this would also be a good beer to age.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. This
Definitely.
would be a good age it for a year and see what it's doing kind of beer.
It's not hot at all. I'm not getting any alcohol.
I'm surprised about that. I was afraid it would be hot as big as we made it, and not temperature controlling it,
Mm-hmm. Of course, it was.
It's been winter.
What do you think What do you think the temperature was in the? It's fairly cool in the closet.
Yeah, I think it was probably in the upper 60s, mid to upper 60s, probably over kind of Christmassy time. Mm-hmm.
So it's just all right.
Yeah, it is a little spicy.
Definitely.
It would be a great holiday beer.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was brewed close to the holidays, so.
Yeah, that's been 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
What was the Patriots were playing? That was a great game at the end. Was it the Patriots?
I just remember a lot of 30 Rock.
That was after the Patriots game.
Oh, okay.
Let's see, here we're a week away from the Super Bowl with the Patriots.
Kyle judges time by sports events and distance by liquor store locations.
Pretty much true, yes.
So it was good luck for the Patriots, in other words.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. It's a patriotic beer. It's how would you describe it? It's kind of Coca-Cola colored almost,
Yeah.
a little bit.
That's about right.
But the head is nice and light colored, and very tasty. Great job. Anything else?
Very, very good. I am actually surprised how good it tastes.
Yes. Well,
I thought.
I knew it was going to be good.
No, I just mean that you guys had to deal with primitive, sort of,
Right. Cast iron skillets.
right, and you spend an hour trying
Strainers.
to get some sort of mathematical thing correct.
Yeah.
And there were times when you guys thought it wasn't going well. I thought you were frustrated at times.
Mostly in the milling process with the skillets.
That
and
was
all.
it, the milling, yes.
Yeah.
But it tastes great.
Delicious.
Yay.
Cheers.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. That was a fun experiment. So I'm glad we did it.
Good night.
And scene. Pizza!
Well, thanks again to Kyle and Laura for letting us invade their house. And congratulations to Casey and Jen for an amazing beer. That will be a fun one to age and see how it develops. I'll post a picture of what the beers look like in their little fermenters on our Facebook page. I kept calling one of the fermenters a bucket when I should have been saying a barrel. It wasn't bucket-shaped, it was barrel-shaped. I'm losing my mind. If you have, if you want to pick what's left of my brain, if you have brewing questions, show suggestions, or just want to say howdy, write to james@basicbrewing.com, or just fill out the contact form on basicbrewing.com. And please don't forget to tell us where you're from. Be sure to check out our DVDs, Extract Brewing and Partial Mashing, Stepping into All Grain, Low-Tech Lagering and Decoction Mashing, and Introduction to Wine Kits. You can find them all on our site, along with our Brewer's Logbook, which is now available to order. We got combo deals to save you a few bucks if you want to buy more than one DVD at a time, and you can check out our Basic Brewing shirts in the store, too. You can see a listing of the fine folks across the country who sell our DVDs on basicbrewing.com, and if there isn't a vendor in your area, you can order them online in our online shop at basicbrewingshop.com. Thanks to everybody who's continued to click on our Amazon.com link. We appreciate the support there. Our featured products this week that were purchased through the link are Godzilla Raids Again and Zinsser 30-inch wallpaper prep tray. Those are great for sanitizing your racking wands or your auto siphons. I use mine every time I brew. Thanks again, everybody. Remember, I can't tell who bought what through the Amazon link, so no worries there. Just click on the Amazon.com logo on our site the next time you feel like Amazon shopping. We greatly appreciate your support. And don't forget, you can also join the American Homebrewers Association or subscribe to Brew Your Own magazine through the associate links on basicbrewing.com as well. That's all until next week. Until then, thanks for listening, everybody. I'm James Spencer. Production help for Basic Brewing Radio and our website is provided by our buddy Kelly Dodson down in Austin, Texas. Basic Brewing Radio is a production of Active Voicing. We'll talk to you next time, everybody. So long.